All right, today we're diving into something pretty heavy. We're going to try and dissect a really challenging and philosophical piece of writing. It's this fragmented, intense journey into the very nature of cruelty and this sense of dread that seems to be baked right into the fabric of reality itself.
So, how are we going to tackle this? Well, here's the game plan. First, we're going to listen to the symptoms, what the text calls these voices of despair. Then, we'll follow this investigator figure as they search for a root cause. After that, we'll dig into the core hypothesis of the whole thing, and finally, we'll have to face the pretty terrifying implications for our own consciousness.
You know, this text doesn't really ease you into its argument. Nope. It just throws you right into the deep end with this chorus of really distinct, disturbing voices. Think of them less like characters in a story and more like manifestations of the problem we're about to explore. Okay, first up, we get the voice of the pure nihilist. This is a perspective that sees suffering as the only real thing, the only truth there is. Hope? That's just a silly delusion. The only question that matters is whether the horrible end comes now or a little bit later. And then the viewpoint totally shifts. Now we're hearing from this tycoon-like figure, a being with immense power, just looking down on everything from what they call an infernal summit. From up there, whole societies are just toys, things to play with. Cruelty here isn't about despair, it's about a kind of cosmic boredom, just meddling in people's lives because, well, why not? And then there's this guy, the brute. This voice gets its entire sense of strength, its idea of bravery, not from fighting equals, but from preying on the weak, on those who can't fight back. Its whole identity is built on being able to hurt others without any consequences. So you've got the nihilist, the tycoon, the brute. What's the connection? Well, the text argues they're all just different masks for the same exact disease. They're all symptoms of a single fundamental sickness that's woven right into the fabric of existence. And this text is trying to diagnose it. All right, so if those are the symptoms, then what's the actual disease? This is where the text kind of shifts gears. We move away from just describing the problem to actively investigating it. And we do that through the eyes of this anonymous narrator, this researcher who's just trying to figure it all out. And this is really the core question that drives the whole thing. Is there some kind of grand unified theory for all this malevolence? Can all these different voices of despair be traced back to one single fundamental source? The investigator comes up with this wild hypothesis. The idea is that life didn't just pop into existence cleanly. Its origin story is messy. It's a story of contamination, a flawed merger with its total opposite. And, as you might guess, that flawed union had some pretty devastating consequences. Okay, this brings us to the absolute heart of the text's entire argument, a concept it calls the cruel molecule. And it's built from two fundamental opposing forces. One is chaos, and the other is the void. So, the first piece of this molecule is chaos. You can think of this as the raw, creative, bubbling energy of everything. It's that unpredictable spark, the engine that drives complexity and creates life itself. And the other piece? That's the void. This is the default setting for the universe. That static, silent nothingness that everything came from and, spoiler alert, is being pulled back towards. It's the great silence of entropy, what some have called the death drive, a principle the text here labels thanatos. You can really see how the text sets these two up as polar opposites. Chaos is like the ultimate extrovert. It's dynamic, it's random, it's always pushing outward and creating things. The void, on the other hand, is the ultimate introvert. It's static, it's inevitable, and it's always pulling inward, back toward nothingness. And this, right here, is the central claim. Life isn't just pure creative chaos. From the very moment it began, it's been an unstable, contaminated compound. It's a fusion of being and nothingness, and those two are forever tangled up together. So, okay, if the very building blocks of life are fundamentally flawed, this messy mix of creation and destruction, what on earth does that mean for conscious beings like us? What happens when you have to actually experience a reality built on this kind of corrupted foundation? Well, according to this text, consciousness is not the gift we think it is. It's the very thing that forces us to perceive this flawed, contradictory reality. It doesn't elevate us above it all. It traps us right in the middle of it, making consciousness a nightmarish manifestation of biology. And that just opens up a whole can of worms, right?
It leads to this terrifying question. If our perception is just a product of this flawed biology, is what we call objective reality even real? Or is it just a shared illusion, a fragile agreement we all make just to keep from going insane?
Then it gets even wilder. The text starts wondering, what if what we label as psychosis isn't a break from reality at all? What if it's the exact opposite? A horrifying, unfiltered glimpse into the true nature of things. An encounter with the raw, objective chaos that our minds just aren't built to handle.
So if you follow this logic, our minds are basically a kind of sickness. Sanity isn't our natural default state. It's a carefully built delusion. It's like a psychological immune system that we've constructed to shield ourselves from the absolute existential horror of it all.
In the end, the investigator, well, he doesn't find a solution. There's no way out. The conclusion is just bleak. We are fundamentally trapped inside our own subjective experience, a mental prison made from that flawed union of chaos and the void. And that's where the text leaves us, with this one last, really haunting question. If life is just a dreary competition of horrors, then what is the purpose of being conscious? What is the point of being a witness to any of it? Yeah, a chilling thought to end on.